Vamos a ver este podcast, que al final creía que iba a ser en directo, pero no. Puedo poner 4K, sí. Del futuro que se viene en Xbox, ya se confirmó de que los grandes lanzamientos, bueno, de que Xbox ya no iba a tener exclusivos. Y bueno, días después pues se anunció de que hoy va a haber como un podcast a modo de comunicación, ¿no? Para los fans, para ver qué depararía en el futuro. Así que lo vamos a ver. Voy a poner los subtítulos. Lo que no está en español, ya lo
Hello
siento.
and welcome to
Aprender
the
español.
official
Voy a aprender
Xbox
inglés,
podcast. I'm
que
your
va a
host
venir muy
Tina
bien.
Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can
A ver.
probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and
Iré
Matt.
comentando así
And we're going to talk
por
about some
encima lo más
updates at
relevante.
Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact
Es un
on
poco
Game
raro, ¿no?
Pass.
Como han
And we want
planteado
to talk about
el
hardware too, and how all of this fits into the strategy
raro,
at
la verdad.
Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show,
Yo solo pondría como un
back in
estreno y
December,
así pues
I think we
se vería en
probably
directo
would
y
have
tal, pero así
started
como
with
grabado.
Activision Blizzard,
Es raro.
maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out, so let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy.
Vale, o sea, no van a cambiar la estrategia de exclusivos, sino que solo van a mover 4 juegos.
We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health
Pues yo que hagan este tipo de movimientos de una vez habiendo adquirido lo de
our
Blizzard.
games performing,
Porque
building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4
titles, una forma de hacer
marketing? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria and
Indiana
how
Jones
the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4
friendly reminder de que hace 5 años anunció el
because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today.
Que sería la polla que de repente al final del este diga Simpsons hará este día y se cierra el vídeo. O sea, sería acojonante.
Long-term health of Xbox.
Sería muy gracioso.
That we're running a growing platform.
Pero vaya, no va a caer esa broma, yo lo
players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last
sí, o sea, que no va a finiquitar el tema de los exclusivos, por lo que parece a corto plazo, pero que sí que irá disminuyendo. Vamos, que igualmente Microsoft nunca se ha sido destacado por los exclusivos.
And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities.
¿Qué juegos tiene por servicio?
I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never
Bueno,
really
los otros dos
meant
eran
to be
indie, ¿no?
built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that.
Bueno, uno más o menos
But
se
games
estuvo
that our
oliendo, que
teams
era el
really
Hi-Fi
wanted to go
Rush.
build, that we love supporting
Seguramente que fue de los
creative
pocos
labor across
exclusivos
our
que hubo el año
studio,
pasado que sí
regardless
que
of
iba a
size.
ser uno de esos. Y el otro ni idea.
And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
Tengo que dejar claro
So when
que
you are
no
thinking about the future
todos
and
los
this concept of
exclusivos
live
van a ir
service
para otras
games,
plataformas,
games
sino
that
que de
can
momento son
benefit for
4
bigger
juegos.
audiences, new
2
audiences,
indies y
how
2
does it
hechos por
apply
la
to the future
comunidad. O
titles
sea,
and how you're
conducidos por
applying
la
that
comunidad.
criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there.
Creo que hay que seguir un poquito más o menos la estrategia que estaba siguiendo Sony en los últimos años, ¿no? De estar exclusivo un tiempo determinado y luego pues ya pasar a las demás plataformas. Claro, no sé si seguir el mismo criterio del mismo tiempo de un año exclusividad y luego moverse a otras plataformas o hacerlo
Xbox is a hardware
como antes.
platform, Xbox
O sea,
is a
no
publisher
antes,
of great
sino
games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
en menor tiempo.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day 1. And
la estrategia, ¿no? De que todos los juegos van a
Game
salir.
Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting
Vale,
points
sí,
for
que
us.
todos los juegos van a salir día 1 en
Phil
Game Pass,
mentioned,
que bueno, que es
there are games today
su
that you can
estrategia,
play
¿no?
that
Comercial.
only can be found
Y de
on
que solo
Xbox.
Game Pass va a estar en
And
Xbox.
at the
O sea que
same
no,
time,
de momento
we
no tiene
want to
planteado
bring
irse a otra
more of our
plataforma.
games to
Cambiar
more
ese servicio.
players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the 2 key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves
pero igualmente,
and the player are going to be able to move across all
el tema del
those parts.
crossplay y del cross-save,
So not all of
pero
our games today are
con
necessarily
este
built to take
movimiento, ya si
advantage of that. There
antes
still will be some
te valía
games
de
that
poco de
don't.
una Xbox,
As we bring
ahora
more
con esto que van a
teams
hacer,
into the
menos aún.
Xbox
Así que
family, there's some catch up to do.
no sé
as
cómo
we get that.
encaja su idea de negocio,
Cross-play,
de dar
cross-save
importancia a esas dos
is like
cosas
so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think
cuando
it's
parece que la
something
Xbox va
that
a
we as
tener
First
menos
Party
protagonismo
get
porque
such
va a
a
haber
good
menos exclusivos.
benefit from being so close to the
Va a
platform.
ser raro.
Yeah,
Igualmente, como
absolutely.
el
And
futuro
that's
de
one of the
Microsoft, como
things,
siempre,
like you
está
said,
un poco.
all of our games are always in Game
Ya una vez
Pass.
con la
And so
compra
I'm excited to
de
announce,
Activision,
with the coming
como que ha
together
quedado un
that we had,
poco
Activision Blizzard King, that
incierto, ¿no?
Activision and Blizzard games are
Que se
coming to Game
ve
Pass,
que van a atender al
starting with
Game Pass
Diablo
y a
4 on
potenciar la
March
plataforma,
28th, which
pero
I'm super, super excited to
no
share
sé,
today.
como que
And it's all part of our
de su
commitment
propia
to make
cosecha salir pocas cosas. No
Xbox,
sé si
the
me
Xbox
explico.
experience, and the games that we
Como que
build
esa
as widely
creatividad
available as possible. So
va a
now the
depender de
34
empresas que ya
million Game
existían, lo que
Pass
pasa que
members
es
can all
dueña ahora de.
enjoy
O sea,
the
más o menos
fantastic experience of
como
Diablo 4.
Tencent, ¿no? Que de por sí
Can we
no,
come back to the point,
no hace cosas
Phil, you
propias,
mentioned
sino
at
que
the
lo
top,
hacen
this
las
isn't
empresas que ha
really
comprado.
a
Yo creo que es un
change
poco
in
por eso.
strategy for us. Can you recap for
Por
me
ahí,
how it
pero-
isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. if you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. We've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding just from listening and learning
Sí, una vez
from
más,
you
Phil
three
salvando la
over
industria
the
de los
past few
videojuegos.
weeks,
Es
just
un héroe.
understanding what's happening with
Es
Xbox, is
increíble,
that
este señor.
we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions.
Pero el tema de servicios de Xbox en móvil, ¿cómo va? Porque yo la verdad es que conozco a cero gente que lo utiliza.
But we do understand the business
O
success.
sea, que la gente juegue en móvil a juegos
us as
de
leaders in
Xbox,
this
como
business,
que...
the system
Sí,
today,
sí, ya,
the
ya.
system that all companies that we play
Además que tiene que tener un buen móvil,
is a
vaya,
world
no
that we gotta
vale
be
el
growing your
Alcatel,
business.
por lo que sea,
Growth in
de
our
un Alcatel
Xbox
2015,
business is
no creo
critical
que...
to the
creo que
long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years. And I want to
Me
make
se
sure
rumoreaba un
Xbox is
Nintendo
in the
Direct
best position for the next 20
en el
years.
que, bueno, se
That
rumoreaba
means
de que con el
healthy
tema
player
este
community, healthy creator
de la
community,
multiplataforma de
and
esos
healthy
4
business.
juegos de
So
Xbox,
when we look
pues
at
iba a haber uno
opportunities to
pronto.
allow more people to play,
Pero por ahora
more
no
people
se,
to
no se ha
engage, more
conocido
people to
nada.
buy, more
La
people
gente
to
dice que va a ser el
subscribe,
jueves,
it's all
pero
about putting Xbox in the best
no tiene
position.
sentido.
And our
Más
hardware is a
sabiendo que
critical
antes tiene que ser
component
esa
of that. The absolute
conferencia
best experience
o conferencia,
somebody
este
has on
podcast.
Xbox is hardware that your team
Así
builds
que, bueno,
and
veremos.
that people play on. But that's not
Será
gonna
para
be
la semana que viene,
we
entiendo,
fully
para
accepted
inicio,
that
los
we're going
lunes,
to have
martes.
Xbox players across
Los
all
martes suele
consoles.
gustar más a Nintendo.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There was some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I
También recordar que tanto el año pasado como este
it was an amazing year. Some
año
great
precedido de
launches,
muchos
some of the
despidos.
games that I think
Incluso
will stand the test of
el
time that
último
people will
así
be
más
talking about
masivo
a
fue el de
decade from now.
Microsoft.
But it's an
Yo creo que
industry that
despidieron
didn't really
a
grow.
90 o 300 personas.
And what
No me acuerdo,
happens when an
pero
industry doesn't
fue
grow?
un despido gordo,
Um,
gordo.
You end up with some job eliminations, which we have.
Así que claro, que digan de progreso y cada vez los estos están creciendo y sean recurrentes las noticias de despidos.
Players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that
La verdad yo creo que este año en cuanto a despido va a haber muchos más.
If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money
Bueno,
the
también,
players
claro, es
that I
que
have,
viendo las palabras
or to
ahora
think
con
about how
otras
do I
perspectivas, que
expand the
parece
business I have
que como que
by
está
finding
camuflando que
new
este movimiento ha
players
venido precedido
and adding those to the base of players
de
that
los
already
despidos,
play. Our focus on Xbox for
concretamente.
the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we
O
make
sea
sure
que
Xbox
hace
is
falta
growing,
expandirse porque
growing
están
for
viendo
our
que solo
players,
quedarse
growing for
con
our
el
creators.
Game
So
Pass
those
y el
people are
Xbox
finding success on
que era
our
como una mierda, o
platform,
sea que se
which will
tienen
grow the
que
Xbox
expandir como una
business
third party.
and put Xbox
Por
in
lo
a
mismo.
position to be very strong for
Pero vaya, que
years
si
and decades
equipos,
to come.
igualmente equipo tiene
Matt,
problemas
earlier you were talking about these
con la
growing gaming
infraestructura que tiene,
communities, how they're
imaginaos
incredibly large, and
empresas
you know,
indie, o sea, cómo tienen
comparable
que ir
on
soportando.
such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned
Era poco ya,
Fortnite.
¿no?
So how are
Sí.
we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Pal World. You know, Pal World was able to launch, they were in game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview. We have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before, by nature, thousands of them, by nature of those investments.
Que si lo pensáis que es...
There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware.
O sea, mira qué grande la empresa y tal, pero es que Sony le tiene comido desde hace mucho tiempo los exclusivos. Y mira que últimamente Sony no está sacando tantos. Incluso hace poco se lanzó la noticia de que este año tenían pensado lanzar menos first party.
And then when we're talking about hardware
Hace
too,
como
there's
un año
these
más
other other
tranquilo.
considerations
Pero
that are
aún
really
así,
important to our community, probably to
como
each
que
one of
no, como
ourselves
que
as
Microsoft
well.
siempre le ha faltado tener
When you
identidad
talk about
propia.
live
Siempre ha ido
plays, I
tirando
wanted to dig
de,
on that a little bit
de
more.
cosas que saben que
You
han
know, as we talk
funcionado
about
y
cloud
agencias.
and the
Pues
wider
entonces,
entertainment industry, there's
el problema que están
conversations
teniendo
about
ahora, que todos los
streaming.
juegos que
How is
tienen no
that
tienen que expandir
impacting
porque si no,
how I own my content that
no
I've
tiene forma de
invested
tener una
in? So
identidad propia
what
y
can we
de
say about our
y tener
stance
razón
around
para
game
ir a los
preservation?
juegos de Xbox.
Yeah, one of the
Yo creo que más
highlights
o menos
for
por ahí
me
a
of,
los tiros,
being
pero
in this
tampoco
position
soy
was
una
getting to
David, ¿no?
stand
Lo
on
digo.
stage when we announced the back compat.
No sé, igualmente, a ver, veremos. Tiene pinta de que este año va a ser un poco de relax, ¿eh? En cuanto a la industria y de relax en cuanto incluso ya de despido, yo creo que van a haber más seguramente. Creo que va a ser un punto de inflexión. Yo creo que va a ser un año de descanso, de cambiar cosas y de ir preparando para el año que viene.
maintained software compatibility with things that are built
Va a
on
ser un año
Like I
tranquilito.
can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally it's tighter, which makes compatibility. You end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
No, mucho
You
más.
know,
Queda poco.
when you
Dos
play on
minutillos.
Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression.
También te digo, o sea, entiendo que si investigan tanto porque la gente lo usa, pero joder, yo tengo la sensación de que de esta funcionalidad los usa muy poca gente. Que luego me enseñaron la estadística, dice, mira, todos estos los usan, digo, vale, bien. Pero como que en mi cabeza, en lo que es en mi sillón, no le veo yo el sentido, vaya. De normal siempre, o sea, las personas siempre tiramos de costumbre, de hacer lo mismo siempre. De si queremos leer un periódico, siempre leemos el mismo. Si queremos leer, pues leemos hasta ahora y en la cama sentados. Pero lo mismo pasa con los juegos, o sea, si quieres jugar a los juegos que te gustan, si eres PC, pues irás a PC. Si eres de Play, pues irás a Play. Si tienes que jugarte un exclusivo, pues evidentemente tienes que ir a Nintendo, a Play o lo que sea. Como que lo de aprovechar la misma progresión en diferentes dispositivos, como que está bien darle oportunidades, ¿no? Y un abanico de posibilidades a los jugadores, pero claro, que lo usen todas las formas de forma simultánea es lo que me parece muy raro. Pero bueno, no sé.
Well, I guess I should get
Ahora mira,
ready
bueno, en
for
junio hay
the
showcase, claro.
podcast.
Porque le traen
Well, thank
Tampoco
you
he
all
hecho
for
nada
showing up on the podcast today, and
nada
we'll see the rest of
liqueable.
you this June.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Pues nada, pues eso, un poco el tema ha sido ese. Al final ha disipado un poco las dudas, no van a ser todos los juegos que van a sacar va a ser third party, sino que de momento van a ser 4. Yo creo que más o menos van a seguir un poco la estrategia de Sony, ¿no? De años atrás, de mantener los juegos en exclusividad en un determinado rango de tiempo y luego pues sacarlos a las demás plataformas. Pero bueno, tendremos que ver, a ver el criterio que tienen, a ver cuánto tiempo lo tendrán de exclusividad antes de lanzarlo a todas las plataformas y bueno, veremos. Yo, como he dicho, yo creo que este año, tanto para Sony como para Microsoft, va a ser un año de inflexión, de relajación, de preparar cosas nuevas para el año siguiente. Porque también, como he comentado, Sony no tenía pensado sacar mucho first party bueno, y no están haciendo tanto first party para este año. Así que yo creo que va a ser un año de calma, de ver cómo amaina un poco la industria y y de prepararse para el año que viene. Pero vamos, que no auguro un buen año de grandes lanzamientos, pero también recordar que el año pasado fue un año tocho. O sea, salió el Zelda, salió el Final 16, salió el Baldur's Gate, salió el Max. No, el Max Payne, no, el. El juego este de los que hicieron control, joder, ¿cómo se llama? El Alan Wake. O sea, salió también, fue un gran año de remake, del Dead Space, del Resident. O sea, que fue un gran año de juegos. Y se ve que este año pues va a ser un poquito más de barbecho, ¿no? Que se dice. Aunque van a salir grandes juegos como la segunda parte del remake del 7, del Final Fantasy, pero bueno. Que no va a ser un año tan apabullante, pero bueno. Veremos a ver cómo avanza la industria. A mí me sigue preocupando el tema de los despidos porque yo creo que no va a ser un caso aislado. Yo creo que va a seguir habiendo casos este año. Pero bueno, veremos a ver qué tal. Nada, por aquí lo dejamos. Subiré, aunque es un vídeo corto, pero bueno, es valioso. Lo subiré para YouTube. Aunque bueno, cuanto más corto sea, mejor me viene para el tema de la visibilidad. Así que nada, lo subiré junto a los directos que tengo pendientes. Y nada, nos vemos en el próximo vídeo. Vale, chao, chao, chao.